Welcome to Leadership Reimagined, where game-changing conversations are reshaping the world of work. I'm Janice Ellig, the CEO and founder of Ellig Group, Executive Search Advisors, where we are reimagining search through our long-standing commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. On today's episode, the topic is Thrive with Purpose, Financial Advice from the Heart. And I am honored to be speaking with Terry Rasmussen, President and CEO of Thrivent, where in the 2 years since taking the helm of this Fortune 500 company, Terry is enhancing the company's outreach to Middle America to provide financial advice, investments, insurance, banking, and generosity programs to help people make the most of all they've been given, with a belief that anyone can achieve financial clarity, no matter your net worth, the size of your house, or the kind of car you drive. As Terry says, quote, "When you have financial clarity, it affects your decisions around all of those things." Welcome, Terry, and thank you for joining us from your office in Minneapolis, where you, like other CEOs, are navigating through the pandemic, an economic downturn, and social unrest.
Well, thank you, Janice. I am delighted to be here to share with you what I've learned in my respective roles over the years and how those experiences have equipped me to navigate the times we find ourselves in.
Thrivent has a unique focus, dedicated in its purpose to serve society. Can you give us a brief overview of Thrivent?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thrivent is a Fortune 300 diversified financial services company. And when I think about how Thrivent is truly different, it's how we believe money is a tool, not a goal. We really work to understand our clients' goals and their values so we can provide financial guidance to them, guidance that's really personal to their situation and their hopes and dreams.
So you really are different, it seems, than others in terms of how you reach out to your clients, in terms of how your financial advisors really serve clients and sort of maybe in a more trusting, caring way?
Oh, absolutely. I think we have some of the most accomplished and most caring financial advisors in the country. And they really do take the time to get to know our clients. And so they really want to provide that personalized financial guidance to them so they can help them achieve their goals in a values-based way, because we think that if we can help them achieve financial clarity, that they can really lead lives full of meaning and gratitude. And oftentimes that meaning and gratitude is really helping them make a difference in their local communities.
It seems to me with this economic downturn, especially now, people are really looking for that financial advice to help them through really a crisis, right, during this pandemic, and also during a time when they maybe won't have that retirement income, that they really need financial advisors they can trust. So luckily they have Thrivent to go to.
We are known for really holding hands during these turbulent times. We find that our clients, because many of them have plans in place and they need a reassurance, but they know they're going to be okay. And so what we find in this period of time now is they're looking to take advantage of some of the market turmoil. And they're also wanting to make sure that they can continue to support the organizations that are important to them, because those organizations are going through some economic difficulty as well.
Terry, you've been CEO for just 2 years, and you're leading a major transformation at Thrivent. You have a number of new initiatives, but you've led now a major branding initiative recently. And through a pandemic, through the midst of a social and racial unrest, particularly in Minneapolis, why now? And what obstacles did you face during this campaign? What's been the response from your employees, your customers, your communities? You've taken on a lot, Terry Rasmussen.
Yes, Janice. And I have to say, we did wrestle with the timing of the brand launch, but ultimately decided that, a purpose-driven financial services company like ours is needed more now than ever. We know people are feeling uncertainty about their finances. They're worried about their future. and they really need help and advice from a strong and stable financial services company. So we asked ourselves, what better time for us to launch our new brand? We also looked at some of the companies that are leaders now and recognized that the growth they experienced during times of economic downturn set them on a trajectory for exponential growth in the future. And we anticipated that because of the pandemic, other companies would be pulling back on their advertising, which is exactly what we found. And so for us, we have the financial strength and stability to be able to make business investments now, like launching our new brand, so we can grow significantly in the future. So you asked about obstacles. And what I'd say there is that as an organization, Thrivent has always been a part of the community. And we felt like we needed to acknowledge everything going on in our community. So we did dial back how we launched the new brand to be respectful of this time of uncertainty. The other thing that happened is, interestingly, during COVID, there are no actors for commercials. And so we had to get creative in how we created commercials. And someone suggested doing an animated commercial, which honestly, I wasn't too sure about. But once we saw it, we loved it. And when we tested it with focus groups, they loved it too. And so in a way, having to think outside the box ended up being a gift to push us in a new creative direction. And as far as the responses to the campaign, the employees are so excited. They've been asking us to do this for decades, and they're so proud of it and excited that people are finally going to know who we are and what we do and what we're about and our purpose. And customers are excited about seeing us show up proudly and prepare to serve the next generations. And so it's been a really fun and exciting time to be at Thrivent.
When people see what you're doing, they're following your lead. I'm going to come back to what's happened in Minneapolis and your diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, because they really are remarkable. I want to just deviate for a moment, though, and go to some other initiatives that are going on at Thrivent, because you did this during COVID-19. In addition to DEI, you also launched a new marketing initiative in the throes of all of this that's going on. What led you to do this?
It's certainly been a busy time and has definitely been influenced by the pandemic. Right. And even before I start talking about the marketing campaign, we've been in the process of building a new corporate center in downtown Minneapolis, and our move-in date was scheduled for June of 2020. So COVID certainly threw a monkey wrench into those plans. But we were able to move our investments division into their new location in April. And in June, we moved our employees' belongings, shall we say, into our new building, all while keeping everyone's safety top of mind. So in the midst of this, Thrivent is also in the midst of a transformation. So we realized that by making some strategic decisions now, we could get even better at serving our current clients while also ensuring we're well prepared to serve future generations. So what we've been trying to do is move really from being a life insurance company that's known for charity to an organization known for helping you lead a full life by delivering values-based financial advice and a second-to-none client experience. So as a part of our transformation, we launched our new brand internally this spring, and we began preparing for our external launch in a national ad campaign to tell people across the U.S. who we are and what we offer. So when we step back to evaluate our decisions to proceed, particularly the brand launch, we had a few observations. First, during times of change, there are winners and losers in any industry. And second, new disruptors that continue to emerge and challenge incumbents. And the winners are the ones who adapt quickly. And then finally, we observed the digital trends and the fact that technology was opening up new doors of possibility. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that we were able to do all of these things because of our financial strength and stability. Unlike many industry and organizations who've had to lay off, furlough, scale back, we really find ourselves in a position of financial strength. So we're hiring and investing in the business so we can grow. And we've been doing all of this while continuing to fulfill the promises we've made to our clients.
Terry, let me ask you, What is unique about your campaign?
What is unique about our campaign is really again, the fact that we're advertising for the first time, and the fact that, as we looked at the needs, that we felt like through the pandemic, the economic uncertainty, and even, the tragic killing of George Floyd, that people needed us more now than ever. And so we decided that the time was right for us to share with the world this great organization, Thrivent, and tell people we are here, and we are here to serve, and we are here to help you through these uncertain times.
Because it really is appealing to middle America, isn't it? In terms of the financial, that's why we title this Thrive with Purpose, Financial Advice from the Heart. Really having people really look at their finances, and your financial advisors really helping people through an economic downturn, really caring about them with compassion, where people really trust you with your long history in the marketplace. So it's such an impactful campaign. I mean, I glued your website, and it's really impactful to me to listen to how you're really reaching out to your clients.
We've had, and I would say, we've had a long history of being there for our clients through economic uncertainty. And so if you think back and look back at 2008, 2009, there was a lot of hand holding and telling people you're going to be okay and just stay the course. And what's been interesting this time is now we have, in addition to economic uncertainty, the pandemic. And so people are worried about their finances. They're also worried about their health. But because our advisors did such an incredible job of helping people through the last economic crisis, we found that our clients now, instead of being concerned and thinking about getting out of the market, they saw this uncertainty as a market opportunity. We also had clients that were calling saying, how can I actually give more to the communities that are really hurting during this period of time? And so to me, that really does summarize the impact that we have when we help our clients achieve financial clarity. They are truly leading these lives of meaning and gratitude, where they can feel that they can give back to the communities and the people that they love.
A quick reminder that you are listening to Thrive with Purpose, Financial Advice from the Heart with Terry Rasmussen, President and CEO of Thrivent Financial. The topics we cover, like today's, are all current, and a new topic with a new game changer is released on the third Thursday of every month. This is a great way to stay current on relevant issues happening around us. Now let's return to Terry Rasmussen, President and CEO of Thrivent. So Terry, in addition to the DEI initiatives you are leading with your team, you have a Chief Diversity Officer, and you have some very impressive statistics when it comes to women in leadership. Women account for at least 50% of both your board and your executive management team. I had the pleasure of honoring Thrivent at the Women's Forum of New York Breakfast of Corporate Champions for exceeding the S&P national average of 27.2%, with Thrivent having 50%. In 2019, you were one of only 26 companies at that level. Only 26 companies had 50% or more. That's really, really amazing, isn't it, out of the Fortune 1000? And you currently are one of only 37 women of CEOs leading a Fortune 500. How does all of this diversity make a difference at Thrivent?
Well, and Janice, I'm smiling because I'm thinking that, quite frankly, I bet the 26 companies, I wonder how many of them are led by women. But at Thrivent, we're committed to seeking, identifying, and hiring diverse talent that clearly reflects the communities in which we operate and serve. Because fostering diversity and inclusion is a direct path to better knowing your clients. And so the current environment has really reinforced that our understanding of how Black, Indigenous, and people of color receive disproportionately less mentorship, growth opportunities, and advancement in the American workplace. And we will hold our leaders accountable to this mission. The reason we focus on diversity, equity, inclusion is twofold. First, We know it's the right thing to do. Everyone deserves an opportunity to use their talents and flourish. And second, studies have shown over and over and over again that diverse teams are more productive, get better results, and are innovative and creative. So there's this whole notion of there's hub and spoke leadership where you've got the hub and it's typically the CEO or the senior leader, and that individual is making all of the decisions, and it's a little autocratic. And then you have this idea of cloud leadership where the team owns the decisions together, the issues together, and we come together and really create that environment that values diversity and inclusion and allows you to attract better talent and teams that are more engaged with the results. And you can gain a competitive advantage if you value that diversity in your team. It's important when you're addressing this to not hire to numbers, but to recruit and have a diverse slate of candidates to choose from. This, again, is what I was taught many years ago at American Express, is make sure that you're assembling this incredible diverse slate of candidates and pick the best candidate. And Janice, your firm has helped us do that at Thrivent. I'm so proud of the team that we have assembled and the board members that we have that help and guide us on this journey.
Well, you have done it because you really walk the talk on this, Terry. And I know you're doing this in the Minneapolis area right now with other CEOs, actionable ideas, the challenges, the successes, and what's happening locally in Minneapolis. I wanted to bring up the Society for Human Resources has just published a report. It's called Together Forward at Work. It's the journey to equity and inclusion because racial inequity persists in America. And it's a great report. But I encourage everybody to read this. Johnny C. Taylor Jr. has published this, and it's great statistics about what is happening and what isn't happening. So I want to ask, what are you doing in this area, in your location, with your company, with other leaders, in terms of actions being taken locally? Because oftentimes it happens locally and then it happens nationally.
Well, I would say for years we've assembled, we call them executive cohorts. And what I would say that is really valuable is you're not in this alone. And so, the friendships and the relationships that I've formed in my cohort really do help you pave the path, if you will, to make sure that you're starting to pay attention to those areas where you may not have the inclusive environment that you want. You may not have the equity that you need in order to really have this inviting culture and an environment where everyone can thrive. And so the benefit of the cohort was just really comparing notes, getting ideas, and really asking people for their help and support as we are navigating this journey together.
Because you as CEOs are making the difference. You as CEOs are bringing leaders into your company who then will change the culture, right? And they'll be culture carriers to bring other leaders in at the lower levels and bring them up into the organization so that everybody will have inclusive leadership in the company. And I am so encouraged by hearing what you're saying and hearing what other CEOs are doing nationwide. I see a sea change happening by all of the efforts of the CEOs today. And I commend you for doing that.
I agree, Janice. I think, another thing that we're doing at Thrivent right now, which I do believe is maybe on the cutting edge, is as companies, we've been really trying to work on making sure that our environments are inclusive. And yet we still find ourselves that we have probably infrastructure and systemic racism embedded in our companies. And so at Thrivent, we've formed a task force now where it's a task force that will be advising me directly. And so that we can start to get after some of these systemic issues to make sure that we truly have an inviting workplace for all.
Terry, do you think that when you have the numbers are there's greater parity at all levels that will help the systemic problems. When you have more women, more people of color at all levels, that will systemically mitigate some of the issues?
I think it will. And I think what I'm excited about, particularly at Thrivent, is our workforce is committed to making our environment inclusive. And so we're asking people to tell us what isn't working. What about the environment? How can we improve our environment? And so that you can bring your true self to work each and every day.
That's so wonderful. The transparency, the openness, allowing people to speak, right?
Yes, their voices are important.
Yeah. So, Terry, and I've been part of this with you on your journey of hiring great leaders into Thrivent. And thank you so much for having me work with you on this. In hiring leaders for Thrivent, what are some of those critical factors that come into play towards your selection of an executive?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, one of our values at Thrivent is doing the right thing. And so we look for leaders with integrity. At Thrivent, we've been named one of the world's most ethical companies for the last 9 years in a row. And that's something that we're really proud of. And so acting ethically and with integrity is something we expect from our leaders and our entire workforce. And doing the right thing is really one of our core values. So in addition to that, which is a big thing, we also look for people who have an established record of getting results and do their work with excellence. We want people who do the what well, but the how well too. And so we want to make sure that people are treating everyone with respect, that we are looking for people that work well together. Collaboration is a big part of our organization. And as is courage, so courage to speak up, and is commitment. And so that we can achieve our goals, again, of really helping our clients achieve financial clarity so that they can lead lives full of meaning and gratitude. We also look for people who have a passion about our purpose and who are excited about transforming ourselves into an organization that's growing. And so those are the things that we look for is again, people who love what we're about and want to help us succeed.
That's wonderful. And you've hired some phenomenal people and you've developed some phenomenal leaders. So you're CEO of a Fortune 500 company. I know there's some in our audience who want to be executives and aspire to the CEO role. What are some of those skill sets that you admire in other CEOs and that got you to be the CEO of a Fortune 500 company?
Well, I think some of the qualities that I admire, is, Ken Chenault comes to mind. He was an incredible CEO at American Express, compassionate. He cared about us, as the workforce. Visionary, really got us, to see the future and get excited about the future. And when he asked us to do things, we gladly did it. And so I look to that as some of the things that I really value. But looking back on my own career, I would say that my career path is made up of interesting opportunities I said yes to. I go back to that Friday afternoon in July with Brad, and when I said yes to running the core business and leaving a job that I loved, but taking the risk to actually try something new. And, once I said yes, I always make sure that I do the best that I can. So this is something, again, that my dad instilled in me in a very young age, that whatever you do it really well. And even in my current role, I would say it's not something that I aspired to do. It was not on my list. But I got here, I think, because I said yes to all these different points in my career. And I tried things and said, what's the worst that can happen? I learned something. And so I would say, I would encourage people to say yes. There are also some other things that I think propelled me on this path. And I've always been intellectually curious. And when I talked about this notion of feedback as a gift, I think I aspire to get better every day. I've told Thrivent, I said, I'm a much better CEO today than I was a year ago because I want to make sure that I'm getting better each and every day. And then I look for ways to solve difficult problems and deliver results. And I really wasn't afraid to fail. And I think this notion of not being afraid to fail goes back to the confidence that was instilled in me early in life.
That confidence, and because you learn from those failures too, don't you? I mean, otherwise you'll never learn in terms of how to succeed.
Well, and I would say I've learned a lot more from failures than I have from successes.
These are great things. And the other thing I would say about you, Terry, particularly during this pandemic and economic downturn and the social unrest, is you've shown great compassion and great communication with your people who have followed you and been there by your side through it all. So to a great leader in your own right. And I know you've learned a lot from Ken Chenault, but you've been such a great leader at Thrivent. So again, thank you for the opportunity to work with you. Any parting words to our audience during these difficult times?
Well, and thank you, Janice, for that. But yes, I'd love to close with a story about my first job out of law school, and because I think it really did shape me and free me up to try things. And so I was fortunate enough to be a part of the U.S. Attorney General's honors program out of law school, which meant that I was in Washington, D.C. at the Justice Department Tax Division. And I said I pushed paper out of Washington, D.C., but I tried cases in Colorado and Wyoming. Mm-hmm. And my section chief, who was a crotchety old tax litigation lawyer, pulled me into his office one day and he set me down and he said, Terry, he said, there's only two ways you can get fired from this joint. Miss a statute of limitations or screw up a request for admissions. He said, everything else is fixable. So imagine that. Everything is fixable, but those two things. And so to me, that really enabled me to try things and knowing that not everything I did, not every motion that I argued, not every brief that I wrote would be successful, but it gave me the courage to try things. The other thing that I learned there is that when you go to law school and you graduate, you know how to think, but you don't really know much else. And so I would arrive at court early and I would find someone. Typically, it might be a clerk for a judge, or it might be a magistrate, somebody. But I would tell them, I've never done this before. Can you tell me what's going to happen? And that asking for help went a long way, because they would say, sit next to me here. I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. And so my parting words first, really ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? And make sure that you're trying things. And the second is, it's amazing how a little humility goes a long way. I really believe that people want to help others succeed. I've been the beneficiary of that when I've asked for help. And I'm so grateful for those who've given me support and guidance along the way.
And now you're helping so many people succeed at Thrivent, as well as your clients, really helping them succeed in life. So, Terry, thank you for joining us today and sharing your impactful and inspiring story. And thank you to our audience for tuning in this game-changing conversation with Terry Rasmussen, President and CEO of Thrivent. You can find me on Twitter, LinkedIn, or visit our website at elligroup.com. Stay tuned for more exciting episodes of Leadership Reimagined, game-changing conversations. Thank you very much, Terry Rasmussen, and thank you to our audience.